Oh, I like your anger. I think that's what I like about you most. Your anger. You are such a simp.
Hey everybody, so tonight it's part 2 of the Alcoholism on Film series. And we're going to be looking at Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, made in 1966 by director Mike Nichols. Now, before we begin, I just wanted to say a couple things, couple housekeeping items. The first one's about copyright. I've noticed that all the videos that I put out up till this point have got copy struck. So I'm going to try to do something a little bit different tonight. And again, I want to remind everybody about spoiler alerts, right? And I'm kind of at the point where I'm getting sick of saying spoiler alert, right? Because I think I'm going deeper into the analysis of the movies that I'm reviewing, to the point where if you watch any of my videos, you should probably have seen the movie first. I'm generally not reviewing movies I don't like. That's not 100% true all the time, but I'm just going to say spoiler alert. I'm going to give away the whole plot of the movie, but the point of the movie, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, is so cryptic that you may need some analysis, and I'm just going to give you my analysis, and your mileage may vary, of course. Right? So I got my notes here, and we're just going to go into basics, the groundwork of the movie. So it was made in 1966. It was a very controversial movie at its time, for its time. I think just for the use of goddamn, like there was some blasphemy, right? And sexual impropriety was sort of cut out. So this movie was written by Edward Albee, right? It was a play at first. And the infidelity, we'll just say, was in the play, but not really in the movie. So it was controversial at its time for 66. It's filmed in black and white, looks beautiful, it's gorgeous. I could talk a lot about, how they chose the cinematographer for this, right? There's a whole thing, right? But I'm just going to get right on into what I think is the really important parts of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And that's really the main thing, is what's it all about, right? What's it really all about, right? It stands alone. Even if you don't do an analysis on a movie, it stands alone as a good movie. But the fun of the movie is trying to figure out what's this movie or play really trying to say. So that's what I'm going to get into. So more on the basics. 1966, Mike Nichols, visionary director Mike Nichols, and stars Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, who were married at the time. It also stars George Segal as Nick and Sandy Dennis as Honey. I have to look it up. This is a really old movie, right? It predates me. So how does it fit into the whole alcoholism in film thing that I came up with? If you think about Fat City, which was, the first part, that was all about using alcohol as a cope because life is hard, and it's just sort of like something to sort of numb the pain, sort of get on with things. But in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, these are educated, upper middle class people, respected in their own realms, right? And they're both, or all of the people in this film, are alcoholics and extremely passive aggressive jerks and manipulators as well, right? So that's kind of where I'm going with the analysis on this. So I'll just start off with the plot. Maybe even before I start with the plot, I just want to say something about the dialogue. So this is based on a play by, like I said before, Edward Albee. So it's extremely dialogue heavy. It's really just people talking to each other in a set. So it's very dialogue heavy, but the dialogue is so like passive aggressive and just barbing at people, right? Each to one another, right? More especially the main character, Martha, played by Elizabeth Taylor, and George, played by Richard Burton, barbing at each other, but also barbing at their guests, which are Nick and Honey, and then barbing back a little bit, right? So it's very passive aggressive and kind of snipey and snidey, right? And when I've always heard about this movie, right? I think I saw it the first time maybe, I'd say about 15 years ago or something, right? Which still makes it a really old movie. Even though it's ahead of its time, it's still a really old movie. And I laughed. I was like, I couldn't believe what they, like, these little, like, snide comments that were thrown in all the time, right? And I thought about it. I've watched this movie quite a few times. I thought about it. Why do I think this is like a comedy? It's not a comedy. It's a tragedy in a way, right? I'll say tragedy for now, but again, much like Fat City is a tragedy, it has kind of a hopeful ending, an open-ended, hopeful ending, right? So it made me think of, and when I say it's a comedy, it made me think of Fawlty Towers, right? So if you ever saw Fawlty Towers, I'm aging myself again. No one's seen Fawlty, but it's John Cleese and is it Prunella Scales or something like that? And they're a middle-aged, childless couple running a hotel, and all they do is fire back barbs against each other all day long. Like, it seems to be the whole point of their relationship at that point, right? Maybe they loved each other at some point, but whatever, when we, fly on the wall, like zoom in on what's happening with, Basil and Sybil right now, or then, we realize their whole life is just, mildly torturing or avoiding each other. And it's kind of what I thought about Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, right? Although the movie came first, so I wonder if John Cleese, took inspiration from this movie. So as we go on, maybe I'll cut in some of that snappy dialogue, right? And it really is just completely passive-aggressive, angry, hateful stuff, right? But the setting is what makes it so perfect, right? It's set on a university campus, right? So George, Richard Burton, is, associate professor of history. We got to get this right? He's not the head of the department. He's a professor of history, associate professor, whatever.
George is not preoccupied with history. George is preoccupied with the history department. George is preoccupied with the history department
because he's not the history department, but is only in the history department. We know, Martha. We went through all that while you were upstairs getting up.
That's right, baby. You keep it clean.
So Martha, the movie opens with Martha and George. They're walking out of some sort of campus function, meet the new people kind of a thing. And they go home. They pour themselves a couple drinks. And Martha tells George, we got some guests coming over tonight. Now, I believe it's 2 a.m. when the film opens or the play opens. I'm going to keep doing this a lot because I'll say the play or the film, because there's subtle differences between the two, but in the play and the film, It's something like 2 a.m, right? This campus function has ended. George and Martha are walking out, or they've gone home. And Martha tells George, "Oh, we've got some guests coming in. The new people from Martha says from the mathematics department, the new professor, right? So we're going to be entertaining." George isn't too happy about this. Martha reminds him, like, "Hey, you remember, right? My dad is the president of the university and gave you your job. So this is something you have to do," right? She doesn't say it like that, but she's much more cool with it, the way she says it, and emasculating, right? Like, remember daddy? Daddy says you got to be nice to these people, right? So they come over, right? And Martha keeps calling him, "Oh, this mathematic professor, blah, 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 blah." Turns out he's not even a math professor. He's a biology professor. His name's Nick. That's the George Segal character. And he's got a wife named Honey, who's the Sandy Dennis character. Now, what's interesting is we learn pretty quickly onwards, right, that Nick owes his success to Honey's father, who was like a revival preacher, a tent preacher who made a lot of money, right? So he married this girl with a lot of money and whatever, and that or accelerated his career. And now, and it's not really clear, especially in the movie. It's more clear in the play, but in the movie, he has eyes on Martha. Now, the ages in this movie are Martha and George are in their 50s, and Honey and Nick are in their, I'll just say 30s. It's not really clear, right, in the movie. So Nick's thinking, well, if I, seduce this isn't really the big part of the thing, but if I seduce the daughter of the president of the university, right, well, that'll only advance my career. Right? So this is the opening. And they start drinking. It's 2:30 in the morning or whatever. And I did a little count. I tried to do a drink count for this movie. Like, how much do they actually drink in this movie? Is this worth putting in alcoholism on film? And the answer is yes, because I got about a third of the way through the movie. And George went back to the bar, like the bar car, whatever, to refresh drinks 10 or 12 times in the first third of the movie, right? So these people are blitzed, right? And it's real time, it's running. So in the first, we'll say, not even 40 minutes or whatever, they've each had like 10 drinks, not counting what they had before. So they're pretty well lit. So this movie's about a bender, right? It ends at 6 a.m. as the sun rises. So this is a bender, right? What happens after that? They get drunk, and George and Martha do not have a good relationship, right? They're childless, right? That's an important thing to remember. They're childless, and they're beyond the age of reproduction, I guess. And they get this younger couple in, and George, he didn't know that this was going to happen, and he decides, well, I'm just gonna take shots at my wife and basically anybody around me, right?
Bourbon on the rocks, if you don't mind.
Mind? I don't mind. Don't think I mind. Martha, rubbing alcohol for you? Martha, in my mind, you are bedded in cement right up to the neck. Now, up to the nose, it's much quieter.
But Martha, at the same time, right, is firing back and saying, God, George's a loser, right? He had potential, but he didn't amount to anything, and it's so nasty and nasty. And Nick, the young biology professor, is kind of cluing in that this ain't a good relationship, but Honey's like, she's kind of a ditz and doesn't really get it, right? So of the four characters in this movie play, only Honey, I believe, doesn't have a university education. The other ones do. Right? So here we have these supposedly educated, sophisticated, genteel people, right? Just acting like complete a-holes to each other, right? Most especially George and Martha, right? To themselves and to everyone else. The opening act, it's revealed that George and Martha have a son, have a 16-year-old son. And while Martha reveals that they have a 16-year-old son, and George is like, really? You want to tell these people about our son, right? And that's kind of the real thing about this movie, right? You want to start talking about our son to these strangers? You want to go down that path? You want to see where this ends up? It's kind of weird. You're like, why do you care, right?
Martha doesn't want to talk about it. Hey, Martha is, sorry she brought it up. Him.
When's the little bugger coming home?
Yes, Martha, now that you've had the bad taste to bring the matter up in the first place, when is the little bugger coming home?
Nick reveals that, Honey was pregnant at one time as well, right? And she swole up. But it was a hysterical pregnancy, right? So I'm not really sure what a hysterical pregnancy is. Maybe it was I don't know what it is. But anyways, and then she depuffed, in George's words, right? So they're getting drunk. They're saying all this stuff to each other, right? And George decides, hey, let's play a game, right? Called Get the Guests, right? That's where the information about Honey and the, puffing up, which probably was an abortion. And I don't even think they could say the word abortion back then. This is part of the controversy thing, right? I think Martha says, God damn, right? And you couldn't say that in 1966, or you had to whatever, you're getting in trouble getting an X rating, right? To mention abortion probably was totally off the table, right? So puffed up, and then she wasn't, right? So they get really drunk and they get into some arguments about stuff. Martha is getting all, goes upstairs and changes into a slutty kind of for the whatever, kind of a slutty sort of an outfit, right? Obviously with the intent of seducing Nick, but really with the intent of infuriating George. I don't think she really cares about Nick. She just wants to make George angry. You angry, baby? That's a big line. You angry? So Martha's getting all flirty with Nick. Nick's probably getting ideas like, hey, wait a minute. If I cuck George, right, I would be the guy, right, whose wife is the president of the university, right? Yeah, it's kind of weird. And things go on, and they decide, oh, fuck it. We'll just, let's go. Let's get out of here. They go for a drive, and they end up at some sort of a shotgun bar on the side of the road that's still open, only in America. And they decide, let's get drunk and more drunk, by the way, and do some dancing. And then George says, oh, let's start a new one while they're in this bar, this dance bar. George decided, let's play a new game called Hump the Hostess, which is all about Nick's attempts to seduce Elizabeth Taylor Martha, right? And it, they do, right? Their dad's pretty close and provocatively and stuff, right in front of George's face, right in front of Honey's face. But Honey's just sort of out of it, right? George knows what's going on, right? Honey doesn't have a clue of what's going on, right? She's kind of, like I said, right?
Oh, you are strong, aren't you? I like that.
They're dancing like they danced before.
It's a familiar dance, Monkey Nipples. They both know it.
I don't know what you mean.
I like the way you move.
I like the way you move too.
They like the way they move.
That's nice.
And so George decides to play this little game on Honey, and he's talking about, the little mouse that got puffed up and blah, blah, blah. So what he's really saying is, because they keep calling her a mousy woman, right? And I've never really been sure what that meant, right? Mousy. You're a mousy woman. You're a mousy woman. I never understood what that meant. I thought it meant like plain, but I guess it means like small. I don't know. I'll put the Wikipedia fucking thing up. I don't know. But anyways, Kicks calling her little mouse, and then the little mouse did this, the little mouse did that. And then one day the little mouse got all puffed up, pregnant. And then one day, she didn't have any puff left in her, implying that she had an abortion. Now, Honey is clueless as to what George is talking about, right? This, highly educated history professor or whatever, right? And she just kind of laughs and drinks her. What is she drinking? I think she's drinking gin. Yeah, what are they all drinking? George drinks scotch. Nick drinks bourbon. And either one of the two of Martha or Honey drinks gin. It doesn't really matter. They're all getting drunk. I think Honey's drinking gin because she says never mix, never worry or whatever. Like, she doesn't mix her drinks. Nick and Honey, FO. George and Martha get in a fight at the car outside the bar. And George ends up having to walk home or something like that. And what happens is, now this is in the play, but not in the movie. I guess Nick tries to F Martha, but, he's got the whiskey noodle and he can't perform. And then by the time George gets there, Martha's making fun of him. And then, it seems strange when, like I said, watch the movie first, because now I'm going to totally fucking spoil it, right? And then George says to Honey, right? Hey, have I ever told you about our son? Oh, no, he says, I got this idea. I got a telegram. Our son is dead. Our son is dead. He died in a car accident, right? And he tells Martha and Honey and Nick. And Martha's just beside herself. She says, no, that can't be true. That can't be true, right? She goes, yes, it's true. They call him the little bugger, right? The little bugger's dead. And that's kind of, the end of the film, right? Except for the very final part which won't make any sense until I explain what the hell they're even talking about here, right? So, what's going on is that George and Martha, right? They're in their 50s, erudite, drunks, right? With no children. And I guess I would assume Martha invented this son that they had, the little bugger, right? And just as some weird sort of LARP or fantasy, or I don't even know why she did it. And George is going along with it so that they can tell people that they got a kid. Maybe that's why. Just so they can tell people that they've got a son who's away, right? They're not a weirdo couple with no kids. They've got a son, but he's off at college or whatever, right? And they're lying about the whole thing. They got no kids, right? And George decides, fuck it. I'm going to expose the lie, right? So he exposes he just says, well, I got this telegram, kid's dead. And Martha's like, no, I can't deal with this, right? And then the ending comes. Nick and Honey have had enough. They leave, right? The sun comes up. George and Martha are together, and George says, because what happened at the beginning of the movie is, Martha said, she said, oh, wasn't it funny when I sang that song? She say, who's afraid of Virginia Woolf, Virginia Woolf, Virginia Woolf? She was being clever, right? Clever and literary, right? Which is, in reality, is kind of dumb, right? Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf, right? And everybody laughed, right? And then at the end of the movie, George just kind of like, when the sun comes up after all the shit, and it's good. I think he's got his arm around her, he's holding Martha's hand, and he starts going, and then she goes, I am, right? I am afraid. So what the hell is going on there, right? What's the whole meaning of it? I gotta look at my notes here. There's a lot of stuff going on with this movie. There's a lot to unpack here, right? Or the play, right? So see. The lie about the sun. Well, let me back up a little bit, right? One of the criticisms, or one of the comments, right? Towards the play has always been there, is that, hey, wait a minute. Isn't this just like a recreation of like a gay couple, right? Like two dudes living together, right? And like bickering and yammering at each other. They got no kids, right? And they got to put on this thing, right? And Edward Albee, who's a gay man, vehemently denied all of that, right? Said, no, you're missing the point, right? The other sort of level, so that's one level. You can kind of think about it. And I think like it's like he said, no, that's not what this is all about. But the thing is too, is he made this play. He wrote this so cryptically, right? Where, what's it all about? And he was so ambiguous to what the meaning. He never really said. He's dead now, right? And so that if someone wants to put that on there, I mean, there's no saying you can't. You can really just write whatever you want onto it, right? But I think what's more real is, on the second level, Edward Albee also said that he wrote from a place that was inside him that he wasn't aware of, right? So he makes a lot of references. I'll try to put up a reference to an interview he did, right? And it seems like it's a very Jungian thing, right?
I think I probably do all the rewriting that I'm going to do before I'm aware that I'm writing the play. Because obviously creativity resides in the unconscious, right? Probably resists the unconscious too. Resides in the unconscious. And my plays, I think, are pretty much determined before I become aware of them.
Where, this was something that was in him and it just came out, right? And he doesn't want to explain it to people, right? He just wants them to see it, right? So that's kind of a Jungian thing, right? Especially with, George and Martha, right? Being just total archetypes, right? But reversed, right? Because Martha is more patriarchal and George is more, submissive and stuff like that. So it's almost kind of reversed. It's almost sort of like, if you understand Jung, right? And anima and animus and all that, right? Like they were expressing these things, right? Maybe because of the drinking, or just maybe because they couldn't fucking take it anymore, right? So they're expressing these things throughout the movie. And I mean, I'll kind of leave the psychology of this movie play at that, right? But knowing that, you can understand sort of where that was coming from. But really what it was, in my opinion, was sort of, and it is kind of Jungian too, it's sort of George and Martha thought, at least, that they needed to live this lie, to perpetuate this lie, right? And if they didn't, if they stopped continuing this lie, that everything would come crashing down on them, right? Because then people would think like, oh, what are you, some weirdo old couple? They're supposed to be in their 50s. I think Elizabeth Taylor was in her 30s and Richard Burton was 40-ish or something like that. So they didn't want to be seen that way, or at least she didn't want to be seen that way. And she wore the pants and the thing. She had all the, she had all the cards, right? She could just run to daddy and bye-bye George, right? George tried to write a book, and Martha's dad said, no, you're not going to publish this. It's embarrassing, right? So anyways, fuck, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh yeah, I remember the American Dream. So maybe that's what the interpretation of this work is, right? Is maybe there are lies and fabrications, in society that are perpetually maintained, because to question them, or to, God forbid, destroy them would be chaotic to society. Now, George and Martha are just two people. And I say the American Dream because I think it's pretty obvious, given the fact that the main characters' names are George and Martha, right? Yeah, George Washington, Martha Washington, right? The founding of America. And I think that's really what it is, right? It's about perpetuating these lies or these societal standards, which is something that, if you understand a little bit about Edward Albee, is not a big stretch, right? Also, he had a problem with not authority but parental figures. He was an adopted kid, and he just said he didn't bond at all with his adoptive parents. He said they weren't bad people. They really tried, but I just never felt anything for them, right? And they said, I just moved on. So maybe that's something, right? That part, I don't really know. That part I think is important, but I haven't really got it figured out. So anyways, great movie. I thought to me, it's one of the funniest movies, right? The little, especially if you just focus on the dialogue. It's a long movie. It's in black and white. It's old, right? It's dialogue heavy. You have to pay attention to it, right? And then it's one of those movies where afterwards you got to think about what's going on, right? Which to some people sounds like, hell no, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to come home from work, after, 75-hour shift, the coal mine or the 7-Eleven. I want to be entertained. I want to watch it's not one of those movies, right? This is just something you get to experience, you get to think about after, and decide for yourself, why is it so great? So did I miss anything? We're at that point. So I got the American Dream. The one thing about, I don't know, do I mention this? A big part of it is that if you look into it, right? So George owes his success to Martha's father, right? Also, Nick owes his success to Honey's father, right? So in a way, right, these men are completely cucked by, their wives' fathers, right? And there's also no mention of mothers in this, which is very weird, right? Martha never talks about her mom. Honey never talks about her mom. They always talk about their dad. Daddy, 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 right? What's the state of the patriarchy in 1966? 1966, this movie came out. If you like movies, you've probably seen this. It's 1966. This is weird. This movie is 56 or something years old at the time of recording. And I have to give spoiler alerts. The play was written a few years before that, right? Everyone knows the plot. But this is the cool thing. It's like if I, which I probably will do. It's like if I reviewed Prima. Spoiler alert. How can you spoiler alert a film like that, right? You can't. You could sit around and explain it, but it's one of those movies you got to watch and then go back a few times and go, okay, I think I kind of get it, right? Because it's purposely cryptic. Now, as far as alcoholism in film, it's pretty obvious in this one. Like I said before, Fat City. It was more about. I'm raising the temperature on these films, right? So Fat City was kind of a, not even at the boiling point. It's it's simmering. There's a simmering alcoholism, and the reason why Stacy Keach was drinking in that because, I felt like a loser. He's just kind of coping. This is another step above that, right? It's not about coping. They're fine, right? They're fine middle-class people. They're respected. They're educated and all that stuff, right? But they got this, they're stuck with each other, right? They're completely trapped with each other. George can't get out. I guess Martha could escape, right? But she doesn't care because she's just a horrible person. And so in order to sort of get through each day, they just stay drunk all the time, right? It's a part of life for them, right? We're educated, It's like my feeling about people who are wine alcoholics. Oh, I'm not an alcoholic. I only drink wine. I don't drink beer or vodka, right? I don't know. But again, great movie. Talk about Geezy. Oh, I was gonna say with that criticism about it being a gay couple, and I brought up the bickering, and I only say that because there's something. Maybe you can look it up on YouTube. I know it was made into kind of like a mini documentary called "Shut Up, Little Man," which is about this some guy surreptitiously or secretly recorded this gay couple that lived next to him, and anyways, you can just see it. It's this weird passive aggressive bickering and stuff like that. Controversial for its time, and a great movie, and possibly prove me wrong. The first use of the word simp in film. The first use. Maybe the only use. I don't know. All right. Well, thanks for watching this far. Do the thing. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.